This episode of the podcast is brought to you by the fine people at TTT Compete. It is our unbiased opinion that they have some of the most terrific online programming you could ever want to do. If you'd like to watch our guest, Travis Mayer, knock out a full training session from that program, make sure to check out this video, link in the description. What'd you say, Trav?
What's the point of this?
Allow me. So we have things we could talk about. Travis, we haven't heard from you in a long time. So we want to know. Hey, there he is. We want to know what the heck's happening. You went to the games as a spectator. We want to know your thoughts and experiences there.
About that.
We want to know how you feel about kind of watching it and missing the games. And then we know that you just did the Rogue Qualifier. Me and Brannen just did a Ruck challenge 12-mile thing.
Yeah.
Do we
want to talk about how you did that in Crocs?
We don't want to talk about that, but we can if you'd like. So, Brannen, the floor is yours. Take it away.
Chris is like, I'm like, dude, you shouldn't do these in Crocs. And Chris is like, the Crocs aren't the problem. They're not.
They aren't the problem. The next day, yesterday,
I'm like, no, Chris, I did a problem.
I did the .com workout that had 2-mile runs in it. No problem. The problem was the fucking traps holding that bag, and I didn't have the bottom strap.
Oh, this doesn't have the bottom strap?
No problem
I got the
wearing
Jinky
Crocs as you go up and down hills with roots in it.
Can't you tell? Look at those things.
These aren't the ones I ran.
Those are built for
these are a size too big, and I ran in these at the games unintentionally.
All right, let me ask you this, Chris, before we talk about Travis. Did you at any point...
Well, I don't think this camera's rolling. Let me go see what's happening over there.
Okay, you go ahead. Well, I'm going to ask you a question. You just yell it out. At any point in the 12 miles, did you get something inside your Crocs, in between the Crocs and your socks? You see what I did there?
I did.
Answer the question.
Was there a fox that could have arrived in your socks?
Did I get shit in my Crocs? Yes, because during all my prep, I only did air runner and on the concrete. But when we did it, we went through some trails, some pretty gnarly trails.
I
didn't anticipate.
Crocs weren't.
I didn't anticipate little pebbles getting through the holes.
I feel like you should have just taped the holes.
I feel like it wasn't a problem.
There was one part around the lake that was super steep. You know which one I'm talking about? Like had all the roots and it was like basically like a rock face, but with roots. That was probably the worst part for me. Do you know what I'm talking about? No?
No. I mean,
he skipped that section.
He did, yeah.
If you have Crocs, you go to the right. You go to the right. Like when you go on a bicycle loop, it's like advanced, beginner.
So Travis, how you been?
What have you been? Are you training right now?
I feel very fit right now. Yeah. Let's see.
What'd you just do?
So we did the Rogue Qualifier, which was 4 workouts. This is the first event back since the hand injury post Wadapalooza, kind of not really knowing where fitness is at. Max questioning all of the things I've done in my life and if I'm fit anymore or of any capabilities of qualifying again. So yeah, ran through all those. Did 2 Friday, 2 Saturday.
Hold on, I got to pause you already. Sorry. So for anyone who hasn't kept up, Travis had a hand injury last year at Wadapalooza. That kept him out of the Open. That kept him out of quarterfinals. That kept him out of semifinals.
It just took you out of the whole season.
And he is a CrossFit man. He wants to be there, ladies and gentlemen. Go ahead.
Well, there was a time where he wasn't a CrossFit man, which we'll talk about.
He's a CrossFit kind of guy.
Travis and Brannen played a lot of golf while his hand was messed up.
I played a lot of golf.
And then he started training again, and I had a baby, and we haven't played since.
This seems about accurate. I haven't played at all.
Yeah.
Oh man!
All right, talk about Rogue. No, talk about Rogue first.
Yeah.
So this is your first time back, and
I mean, I think so they announced the workouts at the beginning of the week, and looking at them, I was like, all right, these are some pretty good tests. It's a good variety. Not really knowing how I'll kind of do, but I kind of had a plan of execution of like, hey, this is what I want to accomplish. Top 5, of course, is the goal at the end of the day. So they released Friday morning. I wake up and I'm pretty amped. Like I can already tell I'm like nervous. I feel like I'm pooping my pants. Like I'm ready to go. Like the nerves are going through my body right now. And I feel like I haven't felt that nervous for like an online simulation or competition in years.
It felt good though, didn't it?
It did. It was like a good feeling. And then it's also like, I was like, Lauren, can you take the kids to school? Like I can't like calm down. I feel like I just need to like focus on all these things. And then I was like, no, you're fine. Just do your normal day. And then like the whole time you're doing it, you're like, no, I don't. I need to think about this. What's this? Okay, if I do this. Well, the workout was supposed to come out at 9:00, the floor plans and everything. 9:00 goes by, 9:15 goes by, 9:20 goes by. And I'm like, okay, I'm getting amped up. Like, where are the workouts? And Rogue's always very, I feel like, dialed in with their
they're on top of
times.
it, yeah.
Well, because you had already planned ahead of time to do it right away. Is that correct?
Yeah, because we knew the temperature this weekend was like the hottest it's ever been.
Brutally hot.
And so
You're not waiting just to see him. You're going to.
No, I'm waiting because I want to get this done in the coolest temperatures for like the game plan of what we kind of had addressed. And then the second one, try to do earlier. But more or less, things didn't come out till like 9:30, 9:40. So then at that point, you have to read through everything, then figure out which one you're going to do first, setting up the cameras, weighing the plates. All of that takes another 15 minutes on the video that you're trying to upload. So that takes time. But first workout starts, and it was
How did you choose the workouts? Which ones to do first?
Based off of like what I knew would probably be like limiting towards the end. Like I picked the hardest one last.
Yeah.
That would just take the most effort out of me.
Right.
I kept that one last. And
so
then,
that you had energy for the other ones first. Right?
yeah. So the snatch, I haven't really snatched in 5 months.
For people who haven't seen those workouts, maybe as you go through them, just say what they are.
Yeah. So it was 10 down to 1 of wall facing strict handstand push up and snatch. Could be power squat. But the weight went up every 2 rounds. So the 10 and 9 were at 135, 8 and 7, 185, and then 205, 225, 245.
You know, that jump from 135 to 185 is like, that's pretty large.
Yeah.
And then the rest of them are just.
You want to see something interesting? Maybe we'll pull the clip of my first one at 185 when I did it. My whole shoulders shook. And Max was like, oh no. But yeah, that first one after the snatch was a very big jump to the 185 bar. So I feel like I executed that pretty well. I had one miss at 225 and I wasn't like upset with it. I feel like I executed probably as like close as I could to what I was capable of right then. It's more just comfortability snatching, where I haven't really done a lot of snatching with the hand injury. Like it's been very recent that we've started like actually building up to numbers where it's more than 200 pounds.
Right.
Like everything's been pretty light and moderate.
Yeah. So just real quick, we'll come back to this, but how long was it between hand injury and the first time you snatched again?
5 months, I think.
I mean, so essentially half a year, you didn't do anything.
I didn't do anything overhead.
Right.
Nothing.
Yeah. So to give them some perspective, and not to mention too, that workout was handstand push-ups, which is overhead, into heavy snatches, which is like
so
that
I think,
compounding
and
effect.
it's just one of those things you forget what it feels like to have that competition, like the nerves, the excitement. Like I started out and I was flying, and I was like, I need to calm down. Like the workout,
you look like a
30
rookie.
seconds in, and I was like, calm down. So executed that one well. Then we waited a couple hours and then did, what was the second one we did? Oh, the overhead squat one. So I knew I wanted the 2.
What was the workout?
So it started off with 200 double unders and then AMRAP in the remaining time of an 8-minute window, 4 clusters. So for those of you who don't know, that was squat clean to a thruster at 185. I don't know the women's weight. And then 8 bar muscle ups. So back and forth with that until the 8-minute mark. At the end of that, you have a 2-minute rest period from 8 to 10. And then a max 3 rep max overhead squat. Started off, felt pretty good with the double unders. Got into the.
Did you do the double unders unbroken?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was, I feel like just kind of like a.
You didn't lose that skill, obviously.
No, that one feels pretty good.
See, but because that workout, like for some people, they actually were so redlined already from the 200 double unders trying to go unbroken to get that buy-in out of the way. Like I saw videos, and then by round 2 of the clusters, people were
the
wrecked.
repeat.
It was 125 for the women.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, for the repeat, I'll tell you about that in a second. But more or less did that. Ended up getting, I think it was 5 and 305, which I was pretty happy with. I kind of thought 305 to 320 would be kind of a good number to hit. But now fast forward to 2 days later, I repeated this one.
Why'd you repeat it?
I thought getting back to the bar and getting 1 or 2 more thrusters after the 5th round was going to be a big separator, which it ended up being on the leaderboard. Nothing's final yet with how it all is scored, but if you had 262, you were tied with like 6 other people that were in the top. Like it was 262, 262, 263, 262, we were all kind of right there.
So essentially getting 1 more rep just allowed you to bump up by 10 spots or something like that.
Yeah. And a lot of that is what it came down to at the very end with all of that. But we got everything weighed, filmed.
Talk about this process. It seems like they beefed up their standards. Yeah.
Well, last year, for those that notice, I qualified, but I didn't weigh my plates.
Did you though?
So meaning I didn't qualify because they rejected every video, which is valid. It's on their part. I didn't read the rules. Last year was like post games. I was just like, all right, let's just do them. So filmed everything, showed the plates, but didn't put it.
You had legit video, but you just
had
didn't weigh
legit
the
video.
plates.
I had everything. I just didn't. I didn't read the rules or put the plates
did the
on
workouts.
on the physical scale and show it.
Did that mess you up last year, or was it like Oscar?
I think.
Be honest.
I think it was like frustrating because I like really liked Rogue and I've been to that event every year, and it's not like it's my first time being in this situation. Like it was like I just missed out at the games from the qualifying spot to go. And then I come back and I qualify top 5. And then it's like, yeah, but you didn't weigh your plate. So like you probably cheated.
Yeah.
But I get it. They're holding a standard. I think it's fair because
you have to appreciate
I respect
that
it because they did it to everybody. So it wasn't just me, like Sam Cornier, there was another person that got docked. So like 3 of us in the top 5 all got docked because we didn't weigh our plates.
Now the people behind you were very happy.
Super happy.
Screw this guy.
So this year we made sure there was an effort to weigh.
And by the way,
everything.
It was are you going to show any of this process?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Depends on
It's
how
a
lazy
long
you are.
process.
Oh my
It's
goodness.
so long.
Because we got a whole nother video coming out where it's about.
It was,
And I
intense.
literally came in Thursday, weighed everything, so I didn't have to worry about it on.
You had them all like stacked up.
Stacked to the
Yeah.
side. Hey, don't touch these. Leave these here. This
You
is
put a
the
sign.
correct weight. Do not move.
Yeah.
Is what I put on the sign. So I knew they were all exact. And then there was one time you put it on the scale, and it's like 4.9 for the 5, and I'm like, I've done this 5 times.
Right.
And they do it again, and then I remember I had to go get another 5, and it says 5. It just
Probably lost some water weight over
yeah. And so, I mean, it's a good, like on the overhead squat and the snatch one, you have to weigh everything. From
Everything?
Everything. From the barbell, all of it. Like
Everyone.
any plate that you'll use. But I think it's fair. It keeps people from cheating. And
But in
other
general,
things.
didn't
It
they
just takes
beef
some
up their
time.
standards? Like it seemed like there was a lot of like prep.
but
Floor
I
plans were
also feel
detailed.
like it was all very detailed in the way that they're trying to take away any question marks, which is smart, right?
They
it's
have to
just
do
a
that.
lot that you have to like read
Yeah.
through. And then it's sometimes very easy to miss when you're looking at 15 other rules of like the standard of it. And then like the video isn't exactly how they did it. Like they just started with the rope, but then when you're reading the directions, you have to start behind the line. And it's like, okay, well, that's kind of confusing.
Yeah.
So more or less, when I repeated that, 3, 2, 1, go, I just started with the jump rope, did my 200. And at 180, I see John, Perrin, Ashley, all of them start like talking and looking at a sheet of paper. And I'm like, there's no one else in the gym right now. It's Sunday. Like, what's going on?
You knew.
I knew something was up. I dropped the rope and look at them, and they all go, you didn't start from behind the line. And I was like, you've got like, why didn't you say that at rep 30 when you like realized it? And they were all like, we wanted to make sure.
Okay, let's have a little mini podcast about that though. So what is the ideal what's the ideal protocol when a pro athlete is in the middle
it
of
was
something?
on, I mean, in that scenario, that early on, just call it.
Yeah, you got to call it
Because I
immediately.
can,
No,
it's-
but for me, if I'm the person who's just noticed that you
yeah,
didn't
I mean, I get it. You want to double check because then if it wasn't wrong, then there would have been no point to stop.
Yeah.
So they were all
like
looking
my
at the rules and
butthole's puckered, like I don't want to mess
Yeah.
this up.
So here's
So
the thing.
the initial response was anger and rage. And as I looked at Max, like, how could you let me do this? This is your job, is to
Yeah.
tell me what to do.
But that's the challenge, right? So
Yeah.
Rogue has done a good job of simplifying the process, but by or maybe standardizing the process,
Standardizing it,
it
making it
becomes
clear.
more
Yeah,
complicated.
you wanted a professional sport, guys.
Yeah.
Here's what
Right.
you
Yeah,
get.
right.
Which I agree it's the right way to do it. It was on me that I didn't just I just started. Like I was already excited to go. You're not thinking about it. So we just kept the camera rolling because, right, we've already weighed everything. We've weighed all the plates. We've done it
How
all.
long did you rest?
5 minutes.
So the camera's
So
just sitting there.
The
whole
camera's
time.
just sitting, and it's like a 30-something minute long video. But I was like, I don't want to reweigh everything and start it over. So I take a few minutes to calm down and then just start, and ended up doing better on both.
See, the good thing for you is that double unders are easy.
Yeah. And so it like
That
still
would wreck me.
But I was like, man, my calves when I do the thrusters like always felt a little strange. Just gonna be now I'm doing 400 double unders, 200.
But you improved.
I improved on
Yeah.
both.
So
So
that's all that matters.
How many workouts did you end up repeating?
every single one. So I did them all, and I was very happy with all of them. Max, and to put it into preface, the Saturday it was 1,000 degrees
Hot
in
as
here.
crap.
It,
That was
like,
the day we did the ruck run.
It felt like it was 1,000 degrees. So in the morning of that one, I did the legless rope climb. Was pretty happy with how I executed that, and then at like 2:30 Saturday afternoon, I did the chipper, which was probably the worst idea because it's
That was the hottest of the day, right?
Hottest of
2:30
the
to
day,
3:30 was really
the
bad.
hardest workout. It's 20 minutes long.
That workout's awesome though.
It was really cool. So for the people that don't know, it was 50 cal row, 50 toes to bar, 25 sandbag over the shoulders, guys 150, ladies 100, 50 dumbbell step overs with 50 in each hand, and then you go back down. And it just got hot. Like I was just overheating. I had 3 different fans on me and I still was struggling.
Yeah.
And then Max, when we finished, was like, I think doing that in cooler temperature, like you can probably save at least a minute and change.
I mean, it was like the kind of hot that when you're not even exercising and you
You're
walk
sweating.
into the gym, you're like, no, it's not even just that you're sweating. You walk into the gym and you're like, fuck this.
Yeah. I mean, it's a very valid, yeah.
And people don't realize that humidity here does change it, right?
Oh,
like
for
the
sure.
dry heat is totally different. I know people are going to argue.
Oh yeah,
about
if we
that
were in
comments,
Vegas
but
and it was just dry heat,
yeah,
like
no,
it would
it's
still
different.
suck.
it's
but it'd be
harder to
different.
breathe. You are sweating, which,
Yeah.
so then
And I
you're
feel like
losing
there's
a lot.
chalk. You're setting up to get chalk all the time. Cause even one of our members, Jason, he was like, why are you getting so much chalk? I'm like, my hands are soaked. Like,
You try to do this,
I don't
Jason.
know what you want me to do. But ended up repeating that one yesterday and then ended up going like a minute and 12 better. But
That's huge.
Yeah. And the difference was like, yeah, I had a better, I think, strategy with like how I did the step overs. But at the end of the day, like it was 25 degrees cooler in the gym.
Yeah, you're reducing your rest time by even like a second or 2 every time. That
Yeah.
makes a huge
And so
difference.
then we had a little bit better game plan. So that one went well. But then I think the fun one was getting down to the legless so yesterday I repeated everything just to see. Like I didn't want to like just do it one time and then like come up a couple places short and be like, that was my opportunity. I should have repeated it, where I'm like, it's good prep for Madrid as I leave for Madrid, and Madrid's 2 workouts, then 1 workout, then 2 and 2. So I'm
That's
like,
when?
I leave next Monday. So it's the following week. But I was like, this is good preparation. So if anything, and I'm repeating, still good training, still good competition. Like I'm going to have scores, like it'll be helpful. So yesterday afternoon at 8 p.m. was the deadline. I entered my score at probably like 4, just cause I didn't want to deal with like any of like the validate, like just making sure it was all in. And if I didn't do something right on camera, it was
don't screw up for the second year.
Yeah. So we did that. And then we're watching the leaderboard. Then a couple people that I wasn't really sure of kind of like went 1 and 2. And I was like, oh, okay, well, this is interesting. And then
what were the names at that point? Like who?
I Kirvis, I know that guy from the games, but the other guy I wasn't sure. And then me. And then like some other people behind me, but I was like, I knew Hopper and Ricky were doing it. So I was like, they'll be in it. Vignol. I knew a couple of these other people. And then you started seeing some of the scores come in. And then it was at like 6:30, I dropped to like 4th. And I was like, this isn't good.
Redo.
Yeah. I was like, the biggest hit seemed to be the overhead squat. If I had 5 pounds more, it was like 10 places. And then just the way the leaderboard point system worked, like that would have put me clearly in without a problem if I hit 315 versus 310. But that didn't happen. And so at 6:30, I text Max. I'm like, I'm in 4th. What do you think I should do? No response. Wait a couple minutes. I call him. Still no answer. And I'm like, okay, I need to figure this out now. Like I have an hour and a half if anything's going to happen. I call John and I'm like, what is Max doing? He's like, he's at jiu-jitsu. I'm like, this guy, come on. But in his defense, I said I wasn't doing anything else. So
You couldn't help yourself.
yeah. And so I'm watching and I was like, I'm gonna call Perrin because she's been helping with the whole weekend. And I was like, I feel like, hey, what do you think? She's like, well, I don't think you should redo, because I was like, maybe I'll do the muscle up overhead squat one, because I was like, that's the one I knew was taking a hit. And I was like, I probably could figure out how to do it. But I was like, man, that's a lot of pulling. It's a lot of setup. At this rate, it's now 6:45. I only have an hour and 15 minutes. Then I got to get it uploaded. This is going to cut it close. And you have to warm up way more for that one.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, I think I can go fast on the legless rope climb. Like that was just super high. It was sweaty that day. Like I think I can go faster. So then she's like, well,
How are you feeling right now? You got butterflies?
I think I'm anger, right? Like, cause you're falling down the leaderboard. So you're just kind of like pissed off because you're like, I really wanted to make it in and potentially, hopefully qualify out of this. So I feel like I was just like, I had a little bit more on that one. And that was the one where I was like, I don't think I need to redo, which I think it was like 8 at that current time. So it wasn't like bad, but like if I took 3 spots, like would those 3 spots be
Makes
what
a big difference.
makes me get in or not? So I was like, I'm going to go to the gym. Just meet me there. So I called John. I was like, hey, I need you to go to the gym. Like, help me film. Like, we need to get this done like now. So I get to the gym. They start getting people, because classes are going on, pushed to the other side of the gym, getting things set up. And then I think it's like 7:05. I ski erged for 90 seconds, did some body weight lunges, one full legless rope climb, probably 5 to 7 double press, grab 50s, did a couple reps of each, and was like, okay, we need to start.
Did you name the workout? Did you already say what it was? The legless rope climb one?
Oh, no. So
this one was nasty too.
Yeah, 3 rounds, 50 feet walking lunge, farmer's carry, 20 devil press with 50s in each hand, and then 3 legless rope climbs.
And what was your first score?
10:59.
And what are you hoping, heading into it, what are you hoping to be able to knock off?
30 seconds.
Do you think that's realistic?
Yeah, 100%.
Where did you try to make up time?
Because I knew when I first tested one round of it, I was at like 3:01. So I was like, yeah, if I stay somewhere in this ballpark, like I'll be okay. And I knew Saturday when I did it, like my hands were soaked. I just needed chalk. It's not an excuse, but like you just did, like climbing to the top of the rope and potentially getting no rep because you didn't chalk or something stupid. So ended up going into it, not thinking, I don't even think I had time to process. I was like, we just need to start. And so I go, finish the first round. I look over, it says 2:48. Woo. And I was like, all right, we're on pace.
A little fast.
Yeah. But I was like, you have to try to do as much as you can. And at that point, I think the first round I finished the other day was like at 3:10. So I was like, all right, I'm already 20 seconds ahead. I need to stay at this pace. Finished second round. I was like 6:18. I was like, okay, we're on pace now for sub 10, essentially at this rate. Can we hold on to it? Get to the third round. And I was fired. I was like, this is what you want to be at, is this event. So like, you better just keep devil pressing. Like, you're not going to fail the devil press. Just go. Finish it, drop, and I look over and I have like 35 seconds to kind of be like under 10. And I was like, this is going to be really close. And then ended up climbing and was like 10:03 when I finished. So shaved 54 seconds essentially off the time.
How grippy was that workout? Did you get limited? I mean, I guess your grip endurance is so good.
I feel like my grip endurance is pretty good that it wasn't till probably like the last 2 rope climbs where you kind of feel it. And I went to I climbed most of the way. And then when I was probably like a foot away, I would just do one big kip.
Like a big kip, yeah.
Just to save that extra to climb all the way up.
Did the class gather around at this point?
Yeah, people were all there. I was honestly going to text you and be like, if you want some good media, you better get here now. But like my mind was already going too fast.
How motivating is that?
I got the memo afterwards. I was like, what the hell, man?
Sorry.
How motivating is that when the class is around? Because they've done that in like open workouts before.
I think it's always, I think in this scenario, I wasn't even aware of it. Like I was just
so dialed
in my own world of what it is. And then I think that was one thing me and Lauren were talking about last night. When I got back, she's like, it's not like your fitness grew in a day from when you repeated that. But like when your back's against the wall, like you don't have anything else to lose right now except just try. And it's like, you just need to do that on every workout. I was like, yeah, I realize that. Okay. I'm working on it.
Easier said than done.
Well, you remember that year at Dubai in 2019, was it 2019 where I filmed you where last second before a workout, they were like, here's 30K if you win just this workout.
Yeah.
And then you went toe to toe with Fraser. Yeah. And like, barely lost to him, and it's like,
I do remember
where'd that come from?
I got $2,000. You got 30.
Wow, they had a big drop off there.
I was so mad about that.
But you were the only person in contention, so it's like when they raised the stakes for some reason.
Yeah, it levels things up for me.
No, that's definitely the money or motivation from people that you care about. You know what I mean? Like if your kids are here, or your wife, or people in the gym,
it's different. But it was so it was fun. So more or less entered that score in late last night, got it. And I'm assuming the people that were like on the bubble were pissed, right? Because I was kind of already out, and I was like, "This is my opportunity."
He moved back in.
I moved back in.
Everyone's doing that though. Like everyone's retesting. I
think I saw Christopher went back and did something because he jumped up on like the overhead squat or something. And I was like, "Man, smart."
So
current standings like right now. So the leaderboard's not official because they have to go through and validate all the videos, and based off how last year went, I'm not in, and I'm not saying I'm in.
But assuming everything's official.
If everything's official right now, it's 4th. But we're all like 1 point away from each other.
Yeah.
So it's like 46, 45, 44, 44, 41. So it's like
there are so many good guys that competed. Yeah. Good guys and girls. Both leaderboards are stacked.
Yeah, I think you have the people that like, right, Ricky got hurt, I got hurt, that like couldn't go to the game. So like this was kind of like our first one back. Yeah. Then some other people, the Victor guy was the demo team guy. Mm-hmm. So like clearly he's pretty fit, probably fired up from watching. So I think you have people, and then you have the rest of the games, right? So you have the people that took top 15 that they invited, and now you have
there's 25
other spots of people that are like, well, I want to go to Rogue, that didn't get the opportunity. And some people are like, no, I just need off season. But then other people definitely are trying to qualify. So you have a lot of people trying for those 5 spots.
Yeah. Let's do a little education corner with Travis Mayer right now.
Welcome to Education Corner. It's the favorite corner of the year, yeah.
So the favorite corner of the year?
This is the corner of the year.
Over there for a year.
So obviously you talked about, you made some mistakes last year. You've done 50, 60, 70 qualifiers, I'm sure. Maybe even more. Who knows? You've done this now.
I don't know if it's actually probably that many. The open,
yeah,
because then most of the times I've qualified. Thankfully,
I'm through it. Okay,
and since like qualifying the games,
Travis,
events want
Travis, don't bring the truth into this.
Pretend that you've done 60
or 70. I've done 70.
Let's help out those people because this is qualifier season. So
got it.
Most people aren't doing the Rogue qualifiers, but there's all kinds of other ones that are coming up. We just passed some, like for
Crash.
age group, Legends, Crash. There's the Masters Fitness Collective for age groups. You got Wadapalooza that's going to come up here next month. All of these different ones that people do either for fun or they want to qualify. But every single year, just like you did last year, people make mistakes. So let's give the Travis Mayer Education Corner. We need a better name than that, Chris. Let's talk about that.
Favorite corner of the year.
What are the things, like if you're thinking about like, okay, here are the top 3 tips when you get the workouts, like what are the things people should be thinking about right away to prepare themselves for a qualifier?
If you have a coach, let them read through everything, I think, first and get everything kind of set up and prepared for you. But I also think it's on you to read those same rules and make sure you have an understanding of like simple things of where to start, weights, plates, however it's all measured, whatever they need, floor plan. Like,
so did you also read them?
Yeah, I read through everything just so.
I was gonna say, because that advice where you like put it all on the coach seems a little iffy.
Listen, no, I mean, I think a lot of it is like, hey, I'm trusting you to like do a lot of this, but I also need to
the coach
take the ownership of it because it's me doing the workout.
Yeah.
So I think I should have an understanding of that. I think some of the
you just mean
things,
having someone else in your corner.
The coach is the backstop, but the athlete still needs to know. Like the athlete that doesn't read anything is still going to screw something up because they're in the middle of the workout.
You're not
fast.
thinking about it. Sometimes, like if you jumped off the box of the step overs versus stepping down, like that was in the rules. You have to step down. So I think all of those little details of simple things that you like forget that you get a no rep on. Well, that one rep is thousands of dollars or places, like it all makes a difference.
Y'all have any tips on like how to read through those things?
I'll sit there and read it.
Yeah, I'll give some of those. I'll be your coach right now, and let's go through that process. And by the way, for those that don't have coaches, because there are a lot of people like, maybe they follow something like
they got friends.
Or they have friends, exactly. So have someone in your corner, if it's your spouse, if it's your best friend, the favorite education corner, whatever. Have someone that's helping. God, going off the rails here. Have someone that's helping out with that. What I would say, if I'm Travis's coach for the weekend, like Perrin helped him with this, and obviously Max is coaching him, but I'm going to go ahead and go through them on my own before I talk to Travis. And I'm going to write down all the major points, the things that would typically be normal in a workout. Like maybe you can jump off a box, but here you have to step off. Like I'm putting all those down on a notepad.
Like little anomalies that pop up.
Facing a certain direction.
Where you need to face, where you need to start with the jump rope. Can you have it in your hands? Does it need to be on the ground? Who resets the rower? Who can change weights? All those things, kind of the big things that people make mistakes on. I'm writing all of those down. And then I usually just print it out and highlight the other things that are common to make mistakes on. Travis, then I'm saying you need to go ahead and read through all the performance notes, know exactly how you're going to set up, where you're going to start, any rules that change, like a burpee standard, what your overhead squat needs to look like. Can it come from a rack? Does it have to come from a floor? Like you need to know all those things. And then once we both read through them, we come together and I'm bringing to him, like, here's how I'm going to set it up for you. I'm going to go ahead and tape all the lines. I'm going to put the box here for this workout. I'm going to put the dumbbells next to the box so you know exactly what it's going to look like for the step overs. But here are the things, the anomalies, as Chris said, that we need to go over. Make sure that we don't screw these up.
Yeah, I agree.
It'd be cool if those competitions would like highlight because they all been in CrossFit long enough to know that, if they change a standard from something that's been pretty normal to now, just put a little highlighter on there.
Yeah. I mean,
I don't think they will because it won't look
or
the
some
same.
like media company needs to emerge that does that, who just takes all the standards and then like goes through with little.
I will say that that's one of the things that we do, like in the open or in quarterfinals, we post videos they're internal only. So like all of our TTT Compete athletes and then all our individual athletes, they get sent an email with a passcode before, let's say, the open workout. And we do that for them. Like, hey, here are the standards. These are the things you need to know about, but you still need to read through every single one yourself because, again, it happens every single year where you just like miss
There's always
one
something.
thing. Yeah. And it's good that you have like, again, a backstop as your coach, but then the athlete still is taking responsibility for everything.
I mean, it's even the double under. Like if they weren't there and I did all 200, finished the workout, did better, and then
you're screwed.
I just did a whole nother
hard work,
5 rounds and then overhead squat and then have to repeat that again.
Ugh.
So
in a like
you got to
3-day
have
period.
those people. Yeah.
All right. So number one would be obviously going through the rules. You have your coach to help you out with that.
Yeah.
What else are you thinking? Just talking about like actual execution game day during a qualifier workout.
I feel like probably set yourself up for like the best success. For me, I like to do like visualization and stuff beforehand. I think to like, 1, remember what the workout is, 2, kind of like what my game plan is going to be, how I'm going to break things up, what my rest periods are going to be. And then in the scenario, it doesn't, like you've already kind of like visualized and thought about, okay, if this does go wrong, how are you going to handle that? And I think those kind of things, I think, allow me to kind of shut off figuring it out in the moment where I've like kind of thought about it on how I like want it to go, what could go wrong, and then now like what's actually going to happen. So I think just as an athlete, you need to be comfortable. Like it's someone playing football, right? They go back, they review film, they're watching everything, seeing what they can improve upon. I'm just doing that by like thinking of what I think the workouts are going to be like, how it's going to go, what I can do.
In practice, how long does that process take for you for one workout?
15 minutes probably.
So you're like, yeah, you're actually going through it.
Yeah. So I'll go through like a
You're not
whole
like, all right, here, and you're not fast forwarding in your head.
No. Like, yeah, like I try to count the reps in my head. I try to sit there, like what it's going to feel like, what's going to start to burn, like where the feeling of discomfort is going to come from. Cause I think once you can become aware of those things and like where it's going to happen, or even when I tested some and we did like 1 round or something, after I did the double unders, I went into the 5 thrusters and bar muscle ups, and like my calves on the first set of thrusters was like a shock. Like when I went down to the bottom, I was like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. So then when you visualize again, you're like, okay, like be ready for this. And then you don't think about it because you already anticipating it happening, and then can just stay present in the entire workout.
How many scenarios are you running through in your head?
Probably 3. I think like the one that like, hey, this is what I want to have happen.
Yeah.
Like this is best case scenario. 2, what could potentially go wrong with all of it. And then 3, like if this goes wrong, what are the things you're going to do to like say to yourself to snap out of it, have Max or someone yell something to help with that, or 3, just like a completely different plan that you need to like fall back on.
Yeah. But with that worst case scenario, as you go through that, are you like getting anxiety, or is it more like I want to lay out what could happen that's really bad so that I can fix it?
Correct.
Yeah.
And I think I did that right for the snatch one, for an example. So the snatch one, and then I missed the 4th one at 225. And
You had already played that in your head.
I already played that I was going to miss one at 225 potentially. And yeah, you could say I spoke that into exit, whatever, but it wasn't. It was because I got sloppy off the ground and shot my hips up and didn't like get aggressive with the punch. And I think that was why I missed, not because, but I think you have to visualize those things and see them because it's a possibility. Like there's room for error on all these things.
In your visualization where you missed one, did it help you get back on the bar quicker and all that?
Yeah, because I said like if you miss, it's okay. Like just get back to it quick, get the chalk, and then just go again.
And maybe know what went wrong, like you said.
Yeah, and I knew it.
Yeah,
and I knew it immediately as soon as I pulled. Before I even like missed, I knew my hips were already too high.
Right,
like I knew. And I was like,
but you can easily correct that then because you already did that scenario and you knew what was wrong technically. You could then be more efficient in the next rep.
Yeah.
I think that's so important. And that's kind of why I wanted to like reiterate that point. Most people will go through like best case scenario. Like we always talk about visualization and most people say visualize the best case scenario. But in CrossFit, like, is there ever really, like, have you ever done a workout where everything went right? Like there's always just like a little hiccup here or there.
Something here and there.
Yeah. So having some like a plan B, plan C, plan D, where even if it's the worst case, here are other options that I can have to mitigate those problems.
Yeah.
So that
I mean, I
still
think
get a
for
good score.
myself, it's happened over years, right? You get these unrealistic expectation, but a lot of that's due to when I would visualize or something, like I only anticipated good things happening because you think, when I think about the bad things are going to happen. And that's what you're going to like just.
But that's not necessarily true.
But it's not. But you need to be prepared if that does happen. How are you going to handle that? And I think without giving it like effort and energy, but like thinking about it, I think is an important skill to learn. But I think you also have to have the experience to know that as well.
Totally.
Like you have to blow up in workouts. You have to fail. You have like, and I've done that plenty of times on a lot of different things. So I think I'm comfortable with knowing what my limits are and like where, if I'm going to miss, what could potentially happen, and then kind of adjust it from there.
Yeah. So is it important for you in those scenarios to then have someone that is helping you in the workout? Like you mentioned, like maybe if I mess up, have a max or a coach yell at you, or would you rather kind of like you stay in your lane and figure it out yourself?
I think I'm still learning that to a degree. Like even yesterday when I did the chipper one, I told Max, I was like, I want you to count just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It would just count. So then I know every time in between the bag, like a second a rep per bag over 50 is 50 seconds.
It's huge.
Right? So if I can keep it to 4 seconds, I'm lifting every 4. That's pretty good based off watching the footage back that I did, like somewhere between 4 and 6. So I'm like, okay, if I can eliminate those 6, get them to 4, that will help at the end. And then the second 25, go every 5. So we started, I did the first round, and it just helped me stick to a pace. So every time the bag dropped, 1, 2, 3, my hands are already on it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, hands are, and it just kept me going the whole time, kind of in that. On the back half, he's like, just do your first 5 and then I'll count. I did 1, and I could already tell my mind started to like think about like the feelings, and I was like, just start counting. That's what I yelled at him. So then he just starts counting again. So I think I'm kind of still learning what things can work, and then like trying to do that myself without him being there doing that, right? Like on the competition floor, he's not beside me counting as that is happening. But I think it's a good distraction in that scenario of how we did it yesterday. So I don't know. We're still learning with the best kind of option to go about that.
And I think it's going to be different for everyone. Like for those that are listening, Travis obviously is one of the best in the world. So he can stay on clocks that are like really short and just keep pushing himself. And then as soon as he knows, like if you're redlining, you would tell Max like, okay, I need a little bit longer.
It happened in the box. I stepped over 1. I think this had to be at like 40 or 38 going for 40 or something, 39, 40.
There's 50 total reps.
Yeah. And I like stepped over and I kind of just like it hit me. Like, it hit me and he saw it and he was like 15 seconds. And I was like, yeah. So it was like, you can see it, I feel it. And then it was just like, make a quick change of like, okay, now instead of the 10-second clock we're at, we're now going to go to a 15-second and you only have 1 more set.
So that's where 2 things. 1, a good coach comes in because Max saw that and he could tell you 15 seconds so that you can calm yourself back down and then finish. Obviously he's worked with you for whatever, 11 years, 10 years. So it's been long enough where he knows you, but even like if I watch someone that's brand new to the sport, if I just had some numbers and watched them do 1 workout, I could give them good pacing plans just because I've been around it a lot, right? So a good coach can help you with that. But then 2, as an athlete, you want to practice those clock scenarios in training first before you do it in a qualifier. So that's where Travis talked about earlier. Like he's like, I've had a lot of exposure to it. Well, that's because he's done a lot of training where he's gone hard and then he knows like that's my threshold. And now I'm trying to raise the ceiling.
Well, I mean, me and Max talked about that yesterday. Like how many workouts I've kind of like done. He's like, man, you've done a lot of stuff. I was like, I mean, if you take the kind of 11, 12 years I've been doing this and you do, cause I've been doing probably 3 workouts roughly a day for most of those times, right? Like it's like, I think it was like 13,000 plus workouts a day or in that time span. So like there's a lot of fitness that has taken place in that amount of time of testing workouts, blowing up, not going well, some things going great, but then you just start to learn and
This is just a side note, but this is selfishly for me because I have people that reach out all the time and say workouts don't go well, right? 13,000 workouts. Let's say 6,000 of those, like less than half are hard CrossFit workouts because a lot of them are strength or maybe not as hard, right? 6,000 workouts.
Everything I do is hard, Brannen.
That is true. You do hard stuff. Maybe not to you, but to normal people. Yeah. So 6,000 workouts that are like Metcons, true hard CrossFit. How many of those just like went really poorly?
Really poorly?
Or just poorly in general? Like they sucked.
Maybe 10 to 15%.
Yeah. So 1 out of every 10 workouts, it's like you're really upset and frustrated and wondering where your fitness is, right?
Yeah.
Even the best in the world. My point being that I think people get so overwhelmed and they're so short-sighted that 1 bad workout means that the whole training cycle or the whole month is ruined.
That honestly drives me fucking nuts when I hear, and I guess I'm not in it and I don't care at that level about CrossFit. So I get that if you're in it and you care a lot,
it's way different.
A bad one, it sucks. But man, it annoys the shit out of me. I'm like,
but
it's just one workout.
Yeah, but that's what happened at the games, right? Like last year, the first event, I double cramped
Well, that's different in a live
but it's the same
competition.
thing though, right?
Well,
Like
I'm
because
talking about regular training.
you watching is a different experience than how I feel.
Right.
And I think that's part of like the different perspective I have watching this year at the games was you finish the event or you're doing the event and it's happening and you're so pissed off and angry in that moment and scenario.
Hold on. Before you continue, and I want you to continue, I got a caveat. My comment just then was about regular training, not competition.
But I still feel like it would apply to competition.
But I would never say it for competition because I get why you would care and be upset.
Because the stakes are high?
Yeah, stakes are high.
Yeah.
But people who come in
But
on
I
a
think
Tuesday and have a bad workout, like, get out of here.
Yeah, but I still feel like for me that those Tuesday workouts that happens is not important, but like it values a lot of what happens on a game day situation is how you handle that on a Tuesday.
Yeah. So the stakes are just as high in training for you because you're training. And that's the case for anybody. It's just like maybe different
It's like,
levels.
right, like I'm viewing this as like, hey, I have this big competition in X months, but I still have to treat every single training session as I'm going to handle
this
it
training
that day
session matters because I want to get to
so
that
I
goal.
think it is important that of how you handle it and deal with. But then even I feel like spectating this year was a different perspective of just being able to watch and you see people mess up.
Ooh, we got to pause. Because I want to come back to you spectating, but let's wrap up your qualifier thoughts.
All right, sorry, I got excited.
I was so good. I wanted to listen.
No, because I do
get excited.
I do want to talk about your spectator experience. That would be super cool. Let's put a bow on your qualifier tips. I know that you have 2 cameras. Is that something you want to talk about?
What?
2 cameras.
How many cameras are you setting up?
Oh, for qualifiers?
Yeah.
2.
Yeah. These are the qualifier tips. Remember,
Sorry.
we're still in education corner.
Education corner.
He's like, what?
My favorite education corner disappeared for a minute. Yeah.
So multiple
usually
cameras,
multiple cameras, and then sometimes even a third backup in case.
I know that sounds crazy, but we've seen people in here where their camera goes.
I've seen so last night there was a storm and it was a lot of thunder, lightning, like power could go out very easily. So we had a computer set up just in case. So it wasn't plugged in that showed a clock in case that went out. And then I just told John to have his flashlight ready in case it goes out that I'm not stopping. I don't have time to stop. So like this is our only scenario. Thankfully no power went out anywhere.
So basically you're thinking through all the situations.
That'd be hilarious
like any of these.
it went out and he's just spotlighting you with some.
I would have kept going.
That would be so cool though.
Yeah, as long as you could still see me.
There he is going up and down the rope, just shining the spotlight.
So, but yeah, I feel like those are all important.
One of those cameras that you have is not a iPhone. It's not a phone.
Yeah.
You want to talk
it's an
about
actual
that?
camera. Yeah. I mean, I don't think you can always trust cell phones and like you won't get a phone call or something won't be triggered. It'll randomly die, whatever. So I just have a traditional like camera I set up and hit record.
It's just a point and shoot. Nothing fancy.
No.
Makes it much easier. Again, you don't have to worry about people calling in.
Yeah. I feel like the only thing is like, it's just a pain, like uploading it to your computer, but I use that as the backup so like everything else I take from my phone, upload it immediately. That's another thing. Upload it immediately. As soon as you finish the workout, start the uploading process. And then you don't have to wait and worry about it an hour before. And you're like, oh no, I forgot to do this. Like as soon as I'm done, I take my phone and put it on upload. So then in an hour or 2, it's done. And then I don't have to worry about it. Next one's done. Do the same thing versus waiting till the last minute. It's not like I'm submitting my scores or anything, but like
you've got
the videos are done. And that's the hardest part. I feel
that takes the longest too.
And it does take forever.
Yeah. So let's wrap a bow on the whole thing, but with warm-ups and cooldowns, because I think this is also where people fail all the time.
I mean, I didn't warm up really last night and I felt great.
In a rush. But in general, what do you think about warm-ups? And then what about in between workouts? Like you were doing a workout in the morning and then you did another one in the evening. Like what are you doing for fueling and cooling down and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah. So depending on the warm-up, I always like to do some stretching first, then some dynamic. Then I try to get my heart rate higher than what I'll ever kind of feel in the workout, or at least pretty close to what that's going to feel like.
I think a lot of people do that.
No, most people screw this up. They're scared to get really tired or feel like they're going to get tired.
But you're not.
Yeah, no.
It doesn't happen. You feel
so what's
good.
a way that you could do that?
So for instance, last night I was ski erging at probably like 1400 for 90 seconds as just like starting up. And like, that's a shock to my system because I literally just drove in and I'm just starting, but I knew I didn't have time. So I needed to get my heart rate pretty high to kind of know that I'm going to feel better in the workout. And going from like the 0 to 100, you have that metallic blood, that Fran cough, like all those things start to take place. So I think the longer you can kind of like actually warm up your energy systems and feel better, it makes the workout feel better. Everybody thinks like, even in class perspective, I'll be like, hey, do XYZ, 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 then rest, then we'll start. And they all like, we'll do half of that. And like,
it's too much.
I don't want to waste it.
Right.
And I'm like, what? Or like, hey,
go
run no, I've always.
You've always been like, let's go hard.
You've always warmed up well. But most people, even at a high level, are afraid to touch what it's going to feel like in a workout. But I think that's probably one of the biggest
like you just have to.
Why is it beneficial? Explain to them why.
Because I feel like it exposes your body to what's about to take place and happen. And then you already, I feel like mentally know. And then if it feels better or worse, whatever, like you're already kind of prepared for that scenario versus I've done plenty of workouts, so I haven't warmed up well at all. And it feels 20 times worse because like your lungs are on fire, your legs are hurting, like everything's just because you didn't warm up properly. And I feel like I noticed that very quickly.
Are there any workouts where you don't do that?
I feel like longer workouts, I probably warm up less depending on
define longer.
20 plus minutes.
Yeah. And it would have to be,
Brannen?
it would have to be one where you're not going to be breathing hard. Yeah. Murph's a good example of that.
Right?
You still
like
warm up all the positions really well.
I warm up like positions of what I will be using, but the reps of what I'll be doing warming up are very low. And there's a mile run to buy in. So for me, I know I'm going to get warm on the run. And if I've done probably 10 to 20 reps of everything leading up, to me, I'm okay with that because I'm going to be warm by the time I get there.
Yeah. The big thing is you want to warm up your, quote unquote systems well. So like your heart needs to be warm enough to be efficient in the workout that you're doing at similar to the beats that you're going to be beats per minute that you would be in a workout. So like if it's something that's long and slow, you may only be at, like 80% of your max heart rate, but something that's fast, you're going to be at 95 or even 100%. And the same thing for your respiratory system and then the local muscle systems. Like if you don't warm up chest to bar pull-ups and you just go and jump and do that, like you
might feel good for 5, but then you're going to feel
you're risking injury and then obviously the local muscles are not warm enough to be able to like really ramp into that. And then the last thing is your nervous system. Like if you try to lift heavy, like anybody could just go out there right now and just pull your 1RM deadlift. It's probably not going to happen. You're probably going to hurt yourself. But if you ramp yourself up, you get your nervous system ramped up, then you could go and do that. The same thing with a longer workout.
But I think it's also time. Right. Like I've done so many workouts. I figure out what's worked for each one, which ones I add more to, which ones I do less of, which ones I feel like I need, like if there's pistols or something, I do a lot more warming up on my lower body before that. Right. It just varies on what the movements are too.
I think what Brannen was asking a second ago, you said, you were talking about warm up cool downs, but then you said, how do you organize how many you're going to do in a day? Like that's a cool topic for these qualifiers. Like how do you, when you get all the workouts, what's a good process for like figuring out when you're going to go, how you're going to order them, that kind of thing.
Right. So for Rogue, the thought process was we knew there was 4. I usually do 3 workouts in a day. So if I take 2 in a day, it's less than what I normally would do. And then if I could have Sunday off and then be able to repeat anything Monday, then I'd feel probably pretty good Monday to repeat. We did the 2 Friday, Saturday, and I felt pretty good Sunday waking up. And I was like, we might as well just repeat 1 today and then 1 tomorrow. So then now I'm fine.
Some of that's based on feel, right?
Yeah.
If you're going to wake up on Sunday, if you feel trash, you may wait.
Yeah.
If you feel good, you're going to do them.
Some people that like, if you know this is going to take so much energy and effort out of you, 1 a day is fine. And you just know that you have those 4 attempts and that's it. But I always like to leave room in case anything kind of happens of like, could I have improved here? Is this going to get me into qualifying? At least you have that like Monday to actually fully repeat. So I'd say at least give yourself, if there's 4, do 4 of them in those 3 days. And then on the 4th day, just, you have to suck it up.
You're one of the best of the best. Brannen, is that how you suggest, like, how do you suggest like our typical audience do it?
He actually mentioned this at the beginning of the podcast when he was talking about choosing workouts. But the first one is, which ones can I do with the least amount of like compound fatigue for the other ones? So we'd like to do that one first. So in other words, like if it's just like an easy strength event, like they've had in quarterfinals in the past, I would prefer someone to do that first because then they're not sore going into the other ones, or vice versa, where like they do a hard Metcon and they don't hit the strength numbers that they want. So I would
usually
prefer
lift.
Yeah.
I always go lift usually first.
Right. And it makes sense, right? That you need to be ramped up. Your nervous system needs to be primed, but you're just lifting. You're not going to get sore. You're not going to like be tired going into the next one. And then the rest of them, you'd order them based on, in my opinion, on what's going to have the most metabolic fatigue. Like if you're going to be really sore after doing 150 chest to bars, you wouldn't want to do that before ring muscle ups. Yeah. So you would then order whatever the complex movements before the like really dense, hard gymnastics or high volume squatting. And we'd finish with the hardest one last. As long as you know that you're pretty good at that hard one. The tendency for most people though is they get really scared. Like let's say there's a hard chipper workout like that. Maybe for you wasn't hard, but I would assume most people died on that.
Oh,
chipper
I thought
workout.
it was hard.
Yeah, okay.
No, I'm not saying it wasn't hard.
Yeah,
No.
Most people probably just got absolutely crushed. And so they're worried about that and they may end up doing that first. But I'm just looking at all the other workouts and saying which ones are going to impact the other ones and make sure that I'm going from technically easiest to the hardest. And then I finish with that one.
And if you're doing multiple on one day, how are you feeling in between and how much space are you putting in between them? And what do you recommend as well, Brannen?
I still have a lot of things that take place outside of here. So I still like to be home in a normal hour and do my normal thing of day-to-day life. So I keep most of my things 2 to 3 hours. So I finished at 10 and I started at 1:30-ish.
But you just hung out here the whole time?
Yeah. So I just hung out in the AC. I had a cooling vest on because it was so hot out. Had a full meal and a shake immediately after that. And then you just kind of wait it out and then start all over.
Yeah. This is totally athlete dependent. Like Travis, he said he wants
the way
to get
me
home.
and Noah do things are way different.
Yeah. And it just depends, like Noah doesn't have kids, so he's not going home to that. And he has more time in the day to kind of like, I'm going to do it later in the afternoon because a bunch of people are going to be around and maybe he wants a bunch of people around. Travis is like, I want to be home by 3 p.m. So I'm going to schedule it a little bit earlier, take a 2-hour gap and then do another one. The big things I think people should think about would be heat. Like if you can avoid it, like Travis had to do them in the hottest weekend, but like don't do one in the middle of the day unless you have to. Assuming that it's hot. Like if it's a cool day, then who cares? But that would be a big one. And then fueling. If you eat after your first one and then you want to go right away, but the food's not digested and you feel like you're going to have like a lot of gastrointestinal issues, don't do it. So space that out enough to where you're fueled and you feel good, but you're not going to have like any stomach issues before you do the next workout.
All right. Well, we'll end it on everyone's favorite corner of the year there. I know, Travis, you have to go coach here in a few minutes. So let's wrap it up with how you felt at the games as a spectator-ooski.
Yeah. Oh, man. I don't like spectating. We'll just start with that. I think.
Why?
I'm an athlete. Now I want to be on the floor.
Oh, just because you'd rather be doing it. I
Yeah.
thought you meant there was something specific about it.
No. Everything else was fine. It was great. Victor Grips had me out. We had a lot of fun. Got to help out of the booth, hang out, talk with people that you don't get to normally like actually have conversations with.
Yeah,
like,
shout out to those guys. They make some awesome grips. And you can get custom Travis Mayer grips.
That's right. You can. That's right, baby. But no, so it's been really cool. And I think he was explaining a lot of new things that they're developing and creating. And it's just pretty cool to see. And I've been with Victor for years. So it's just cool to kind of like help each other out.
Wait, is that where the name comes from? Victor E grips? Those grips are a little victory.
They are victory.
So it's not like a win. It's like it's a description.
Yeah.
I wonder if I could get a free pair sometime.
Probably not.
Probably. I know a guy. No, so got to hang out with all of that. And then thankfully I was just like, hey, I would like to have the windows of like when I'm not helping out, like I get to watch the individuals, one from Alexis, Noah and Chandler and Will, and like be able to go watch them and then kind of see how the competition unfolded. And then as I'm sitting there, like, I think it might've been like one of the first or second workouts, you're just sitting there watching and you can see, like, I know what's happening to the athletes, like internally, like as they start to miss or something happens or you're getting no rep or they're pissed off, like you can see the body language start to change. And I could feel like the perception of what the athlete feels like versus like me even just like watching is not what you think, right? Like it's like worst case kind of like feeling is like the athlete, everybody thinks I'm terrible. Like I suck. Like why am I doing this on the biggest stage? But then in reality, like just watching, I'm like, oh, okay, like there's just a bad workout.
What kind of perspective does that give you though, as an athlete? Like as you get back into it,
I feel like it's extra added pressure that you put on yourself that isn't necessary.
Yeah. Do you feel like that's actually going to help you? Like,
I would say so.
Can you change the paradigm shift?
I think you need pressure. I I think pressure is a good thing to compete and brings out the best in you. But I think sometimes added pressure of like sometimes getting distracted and like feeling like the crowd and other things are almost like thinking less in some degree of like, man, how did he get here? Like doing a performance, like, you know, just whatever thoughts kind of go in your head and happen and take place, where I think if you can start to understand and view it differently, then I think it can allow you to grow in a different perspective and like not even think about that, because now that's not even an option of what you are assuming people are even thinking about.
Were you surprised to have felt that way?
Yeah, I think so. And I think a lot of times you're like thinking that people are always all watching you. And I was like, there was 10 times I was just talking with people like as it was happening and not really paying attention. Like, oh, like it's not like everybody's sitting here watching just you too.
Or
it's
you're
like,
paying attention to another athlete. You're not paying attention to every single one.
Yeah. And I think it's just sometimes extra stress that you're putting on yourself of wanting to do a certain way and perform a certain way. And I think that, I mean, that's why we're there, right? You want to compete. You want to showcase what you're capable of doing. And when you can't, it's pretty frustrating. But I think it just kind of showed me a different viewpoint of like, you don't need to be so hard on yourself in those scenarios and situations that you can almost like take some of that pressure off. Like the pressure of competing and against your competitors is one thing, but I think like sometimes I think, right, like in here, I don't have 30,000 people watching me do a workout. So it's hard to replicate what that is when you go to the games or whatever, where people are everywhere just screaming and yelling. So, but I think it's good to kind of have that viewpoint of don't be so harsh.
So real quick, because I know you got to go in 3 minutes. Who do you think, both male, female, overperformed, or who do you think is going to have the best next couple of years watching everyone?
Gotta stick with my girl Raptise.
Yeah, she looked great.
I mean, she looked great. I think Emma Lawson, young, will do well too, from the female side.
Which guys impressed you the most? Maybe that's a better way to put it. Were you like, wow, I didn't realize he was that fit?
I mean, I think you got to give it up for Roman, for definitely the breaking a foot kind of thing, and then doing the double unders and stuff. Definitely,
that's my favorite sentence: breaking a foot kind of thing.
Yeah,
broke that foot.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was impressive. But I mean, he's already impressive. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like probably because I like know all the guys that I don't really think about it in that sense. I feel like I probably watched more of the female side. I was like, oh, that was kind of impressive.
So what do you see?
Where
from
I feel
Lex?
like when I watch from the guy side, I'm like, yeah, I can beat you in this. I know I can. I know this workout. I think for me, when she did the Helena one, that was like I think a big staple, at least me watching was like, that should have just confidence boost out the window for you of like coming back, having some no reps the first round, pushing hard on the run, being able to still hold it unbroken, and then go full speed with keeping clean reps at the end to win, I think was like a pretty cool thing to like watch and take place.
Oh, she put her big girl pants on there.
Yeah, she did.
That was impressive.
It was cool to watch and see that.
All right. So what's next for you? You just talked about Madrid. What else are you doing this year?
Yeah. So hopefully everything with Rogue goes all according to plan, and I'll be at Rogue in October. I leave next week for Madrid, and then I was potentially going to do Dubai, still hesitant on that one, but then Wadapalooza, I think I'm going to try to go individual and team and try to do both. Yeah.
Let's go.
And I don't know if it's still for sale, so if not, I apologize. But I know our homie Tyler made from the Heat One app. Heat
what's
One
for sale?
App
What are you
shirts
selling?
that say Travis Mayer top 5. Write it down. That's
right,
I
baby.
think you can get those on the Vindicate website.
Wait, when did he say that?
He made a like
He
post
said
and
it
shirt.
on
He made
a
whole
barbell
shirt.
spin episode, and then he made shirts out of it.
But top
That's
5
pretty
for
funny.
what? The games next year?
Yeah.
Okay. Nice. This was recent?
Yeah.
I'll have to watch it.
Yeah, I think he
Cool.
sent us some, so we should get some
Nice.
too.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks,
Sorry,
my
babe.
friend.
Thank you.
See y'all.